Good evening, and welcome to EBALDC's first event of 2021. I understand that we've got almost 200 people online with us, so happy to have you all here. Let me start by saying that this month of February is a wonderful time where we get to celebrate both the Lunar New Year and Black History Month. And it's a wonderful time to be able to talk about unity and solidarity of our BIPOC communities here in Oakland and the Bay Area, and how we can come from creating and sharing art and culture. So at the heart of EBALDC's Healthy Neighborhoods vision is a shared belief and commitment in the strength, health, and resiliency of our neighborhoods and communities. And we have seen what is possible when our communities create and share art and culture. And just, to reflect a little bit on the past year, in the wake of so many traumatic events in our communities in the past year and even in the past month. And we've seen how creating and sharing art has supported healing and unity after George Floyd's murder and the protests that followed, the spontaneous response of artists and the community generally to create beautiful murals, banners, and other art that stretched downtown Oakland along Broadway on the storefronts. Was a beautiful thing. Likewise, we've also seen in the last month the sharing of food, art, and culture in response to the hate violence against our Asian American communities. But also creating art fuels the imagination for what is possible. So through EBALDC's work in West Oakland and Chinatown, we have seen how creative action projects by community members has given life to a community-led agenda for the future of their neighborhoods. It has sparked new thinking in how we use community spaces. So if you think about Lincoln Summer Nights in Chinatown or Sparket Place Friday Nights, which is the background behind me, and along the San Pablo Avenue corridor over the last few years, over 300 residents have led more than 80 creative action projects. And we see that as just powerful community change. And so now to lead us through this discussion tonight with Oakland artists that are leading and shaping this kind of work, I'm so honored to be able to introduce Pendaravis Harshaw as our moderator. Pendaravis is an educator, author, and journalist. He's a son of Oakland, the graduate of Oakland Public Schools, of Howard University, of UC Berkeley's School of Journalism. He has also taught at a number of Oakland public high schools, and he is currently the host of KQED's Right Nowish podcast, where he explores art and culture in the Bay Area and how artists create and shape the place that we call home. So with that, Pendaravis.
Sharice, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having me today. As she said, my name is Pendaravis Harshaw. I'm a journalist. I work for KQED, where I write a column, and I host a podcast called Right Nowish. Here today to have a conversation that really shows the intersection of community, art, and hope and health with that. Before we get into this conversation and bring the panelists forward, I want to jump into a couple of videos that really paint the picture of what we're here to discuss today. So without further ado, I want to introduce a short video by the name of The Impact of Art.
They've actually renovated the whole building. They've done painting, the laundry room. They put up beautiful art. They remodeled the community room. They did a good job.
Here at Madison Park, we design an art gallery that features local artists and local youth. And when you go from the basement to each floor, there is a different theme.
EBALDC has made us a community.
That right there, that beautiful piece was again called The Impact of Art. And I think it's really imperative that we show that because we're talking about visual art, let's show the impact of it. And so in order to chase that and make sure that we really drive this idea home, we want to follow that up with another short video by the name of Design Dash.
Design Dash is a program for resident teams to envision and lead an action project.
Is actually enforced. Beautification, anti-graffiti cleanup.
Bring back our library. We lost our library. The last library we had was right across the street.
The purpose of the mural is to show what a healthy marketplace looks like.
Because the business is a fitness center, the mural should reflect health and activity.
He is going to help us design some frames that go with the portraits inside.
You know, we can provide funding, project support. We can partner you with volunteer designers who can lend their kind of technical expertise. But really, these projects happen because neighbors step up and adopt a spot in their neighborhood. And really, the lifeblood of it comes from people.
Thank you for that piece. Again, it was the purpose of it was really to show what's going on. And as you saw in that piece, Annie Ledbury, the Senior Manager of Neighborhood Collaborations from the East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation. And I wanted to first ask you your title. Your title is Creative Community Development or Creative Placemaking. What does that entail?
Yeah, and that has been a big evolution over time. This is this term, creative placemaking, that's come up in the last couple of years, and it's got some implications that there wasn't a place there. So we've really thought about how we talk about that, because this work is really about lifting up the people that are already there and amplifying and connecting them in creative ways, not so much about making something brand new. So yeah, my title now is the creative community development is kind of the way we think about this, because EBALDC's been, coming out of Chinatown with this cultural base. It's evolved. It's not about titles, it's about what it feels like, right?
Got you. Okay, got that. And why is that important right now?
We're in pandemic times still, right? Like, this is a time of epic disconnection and really intense need to rely and connect with each other in new ways, and to get creative about how are we going to meet the needs of everybody in Oakland, especially those people that have been left out of decision making. And we need to evolve as a society, right? We need to continue to serve the people that have been left out and help amplify those voices. And artists have an amazing skill set to be able to do that.
I know that there are a lot of intersecting issues in Oakland. You name it, from the houselessness and violence, and you name it. There's a long list. If there were one issue that you would say that your work is addressing, what would it be? And how are you going about it?
I mean, there are so many different ways that poverty shows up in neighborhoods. But I think the thing that art has and creativity has the most strength to build is that sense of hope and that things can be different. And that if we work together, that we already have all the power and all of the resources that we need. It's just about lifting out from everyone as leaders. And we're going to get to hear from some amazing leaders today. But artists can be some of those champions for addressing poverty and just organizing people. And that creative people power is an unlimited resource. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
I love it. Hope, creative people power, supporting the artists, championing the artists, and also a mention to the panelists that we're going to talk to today. The main, at the heart of our discussion today is how art can bring about community and community can bring about art. And from your perspective, what comes first, the art of the community?
I mean, they're woven together, right? But I think that there is inherent creativity. We're all born with a sense of wonder, and we are all born with a culture. And I think it's just about lifting that out of us already, and helping people to express what it is that they're experiencing, because that is powerful information to help develop community. And if we could tap that agency inside of each person and connect them with each other in new ways, right? Across differences, across cultures, across life experiences. Like, I think it's a key to transforming and creating a healthier neighborhood.
One informs the other. We're going to spin off and get into the panels in 1 second. Last question is, what is your greatest hope for the work that you do?
Wow, that's a hard one. I mean, that everybody has the power to express what they want to see for the future of their neighborhood. That the people who make decisions about this, what are the shapes of our streets, the way the city is run, like what is the vision of the future, that people have a say in that, and especially those people that have been excluded from making decisions in the past. That they feel like they can take on whatever topic they care about the most.
It sounds like true democracy or something like that. Like everybody having a say and agency.
Right?
Like what a profound concept. Goodness. Thank you for that. We're going to open up the discussion to the rest of the panel and keep this conversation going. I think we've got it started. And coming up, there we go. We have the panelists. I'll let you all elaborate on it, but we'll start with a quick introduction. We have Cece Caprio, who's a internationally known visual artist from Oakland, California. We have Annie Ledbury, who you just heard from. And then we have Tommy Wong, who's the founder of Civic Design Studio and Good Good Eats. And then we have Andre Jones, Natty Rebel, founder of Bay Area Mural program. And we're going to just go ahead and jump straight into it. How's everybody doing today?
Great. It's good to be here.
Okay, call and response. I like that. No, thank you all for being here in this afternoon, evening. We started off the conversation with really looking at, I guess, the democratizing the community, like having a say in it. And so I wanted to start off with you, Cece, with your work. How is it that you bring the voices of people who've been excluded into your work?
That is the center of my work, is to be able to talk to represent communities that have been invisible and have been forgotten. Folks that you won't see out in the media and essentially they're kind of my biggest muse because I'm part of the community. I mean, I paint what I know. I paint about the people that I know of and the amazing stories that you never really hear of. So So it's almost kind of my way of thanking the folks for uplifting us and sharing their lessons with us. Is the tool that I have is to be able to kind of do visual storytelling within our community, within our folks, and be able to tell our own stories. Because essentially, we, as Annie was saying, we have the power to do that. And the way I tell stories is through visuals, with partnership and collaborations with the people who have inspired me, who's doing amazing work on the ground. But you probably would never see them on TV, you know? And I think there's something really beautiful about being able to walk by a building and see, you know, bigger than life-size murals of stories that needs to be elevated, that needs to be heard. So yeah, I mean, needless to say, I mean, that's kind of the hope and vision of my practice, and really what keeps me in love with doing what it is that I do.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Following up, Andre, Natty Rebel, how do you center the voices of people who've been marginalized in the art that you do?
Oh man, that's a no-brainer. Since I began my art journey, it's really just been about telling the story, like Cece said, of the people that are close to me, the people in my community, but even more so, for me, also just creating that link for Africans throughout the diaspora. Since I was a young child, I always wanted to know exactly where it is that I was from, where my people came from, and of course, you know, like my search led me back to Africa. So I've traveled through Africa, just connecting with different communities that look like me, just to piece it all together back to the States, through South America, and just around the world. But just talking about communities that really just I hold dear to my heart because they resemble the same struggle, the same experiences. So for me, it's a no-brainer. You know, what I paint is what I live.
Appreciate that. Thank you for that. Tommy, same question, but with a slight curveball. How do you center the voices of people who've been marginalized, but specifically right now? How are you doing that?
Well, with our relationship with EBALDC, we have a two-pronged relationship. One is with Civic Design Studio. And so we work with a lot of young people throughout 6 different OUSD schools, Laney College, to connect them into community projects that are happening within their own neighborhoods. And with Good Eats, to expand the definition of art to include the culture of cuisine, of food, and of commerce. We're able to work across 5 different districts, with Chinatown as our home base. And through it all, we tell the stories of the people on the ground. And so, yeah, I'm less of a artist and more kind of like a facilitator to help a lot of people in the community who don't really access different parts of government or foundations or funding or things like that. Just have people working together when it makes most sense.
Follow-up question, Tommy, is what's going on right now in Chinatown and Oakland, and how is art playing a part as a resolution to the issues?
So what I'm wearing right now is something that was generated out of Good Eats with my partner Trin, Maya, Sherry, and Asian Black Unity was something that actually the folks here at EBALDC also helped out with, like Vicky over at OCA, Asian Health Services, EBALDC, APEN. Everyone worked together to start promoting this message. It started off as a cleanup in Chinatown that attracted hundreds. It turned into a food distribution site that brought in $2 million to 18 different restaurants. And it continues to be a symbol now. When it was first created, I worked with Miss Tarika Lewis, who's the first female Black Panther, and we came up with this Asian Black Unity. And on the back, it's unity in all different, unity in all different symbols. To talk about what's going on right now, especially between the Asian and Black communities, and a lot of misinformation, a lot of lack of information about how much our communities have worked with each other throughout history. And so this is a visual representation of quite a bit of work that's going on the ground.
Tommy is an artist slash model. Thank you for that. No, that's really, really, really important to wear it on, to wear it, to, literally wear your ideas. And we've talked community building, we've talked art, let's talk health now. Annie, I want to ask you, how have you seen health come out of the work that you've done in community through art?
Well, the way that we think about health at EBALDC, it's this expansive definition of health, right? It's the health of a neighborhood. So it's some people call it the social determinants of health, where you have everything that you need right there on your block to be healthy, and that means good education. You have access to healthy food. You can walk down the street and there's businesses. There's all kinds of things, and I think that that art and culture and creativity are a piece of that, right? Like you saw in the video, there were a couple different resident projects. The second video, like the mural on the side of the business, right? Like our businesses right now are struggling, and the health of those businesses is up to us as a community to support them. And we can raise the visibility of these things to express what's happening inside of our buildings and connect the people, the customers to the people inside. And like just the mental health and well-being of what it, like feeling connected to your neighbors and like knowing who to call if something's going on. And sometimes these projects are a way for people to meet each other and grow that relationship with people they may never have met. So I think it's not just the health of the body, but it's the health of the whole area around buildings.
I love that expansive definition of health. We get so confined in thinking that health means like take your vitamin C tablets or something like that. Like, no, it's a matter of, being in healthy relationship with the environment from which you're growing. Cece, how would you answer that? How have you seen your art or the art that you do in community bring about health?
Similarly, I mean, we are constantly influenced by our environment. And what we see influence how we feel and how we behave and what we believe and behaviors, I think with public art specifically is such a big part of, how we go about our day. We see it whether or not we choose to, because it's right there and we're reclaiming spaces. And I think it's really important to, and it's help to be able to see images and reflections of who we are and our communities and our dreams and our hopes and ideas of the world that we want to live in. I think that's healthy, and that creates healthy communities. Beyond all of that too, I really do feel that the power of creating this collaborative, huge public art projects on the walls that would be empty otherwise is we're not just beautifying the very place that we live in, but we're painting our vision of the world we want to live in, and with paint, there's a lot of opportunities to kind of imagine, envision that world that sometimes becomes a little bit harder in real life. But I believe in the power of imagination to actually provoke all those things in real life. And so it's one step closer to that world that we're creating. And what Annie said, health is such a big, huge word that can be defined in so many different ways, but it's beyond just our physical health, but our mental health and spiritual health, but also like it's a collective health and a holistic type of health that is kind of a main goal of creating this murals and public art projects, because it's not just a representation of one individual, but rather what it is that we see collectively. So I think those are really important. And I think at a very humblest sense, I mean, all those different murals in different places and in abandoned buildings and affordable public housing on the streets and on the walls of downtown Oakland, on panel boards that we paint, I think really does influence our thought process and hopefully influence also behaviors, and behaviors changes cultures, and culture could essentially change initiative and politics. I mean, I think it's all simultaneously connected together. So I see kind of our contribution as public artists and muralists as kind of one piece of that domino that could influence a domino effect to all the different levels that I just mentioned, whether it's an individual, whether it's cultural, whether it's political. It's all connected. It's all related.
It all intersects. I love it. And you mentioned it, the spiritual health, like healthy imagination. Like what point do we lose our healthy imagination? You know, as a kid, you have that. And I don't know, does the world just take that from you? But as an artist, you can bring that back and make sure that other people have that healthy imagination as well. And Natty Rebel, Andre, through your work, how have you seen health manifest?
Oh man, I mean, from the micro to the macro, from the inside to the outside. Personally with me, I feel that art is my outlet. Being creative, we all have the need for a creative outlet, a social outlet. So basically, at the Bay Area Mural Program, we create opportunities not only just for our team members that are also coming up and established artists, but also opportunities for community members to get involved through volunteer process. So just like the last project we did with EBALDC at the San Pablo Hotel, we had seniors that actually lived there at the hotel come down and help paint the building with us. We've done murals downtown Oakland where we've had large volunteer groups. And I believe, like for myself, that it is important for us to have these healthy social outlets and these creative outlets. Even if you're not an artist, we found definitely during the pandemic that people were stuck in their homes and needed something to do, and just being able to get outside and be a part of a group, whether it even be 6 feet apart, just as a individual being a part of a bigger process of something going on, even if you weren't, shoulder to shoulder with somebody. It was just sharing that space, sharing that time, being able to go on social media or just even look over and see that, you're a part of something that's bigger that's happening, and then being able to have the final product. It gives you a sense of fulfillment and just inner joy that I feel like we need in these times. We need these healthy programs, these activities to just be able to lighten our day, give us some joyful outlets. So I feel like it's critical to our health to just have public art. um, so I'm thankful for EBALDC and all the different organizations throughout Oakland, throughout the Bay Area that just provide these programs and these outlets.
Thank you for that. And thank you for mentioning the micro, the individual, and how it brings about healthy results for you as an individual. I think that's why I started as an artist, as a writer. That it was cathartic just to like get it off my chest. And so once I saw that I was a part of a larger community, all it did was make me build and grow even further. So thank you. Tommy, same question. How have you seen your art bring about healthy results?
I think the work that we've been doing through Civic Design and with Good Eats is about creating flows in places that are stuck. So, I think everyone here has talked about it, about having projects that bring people together, that network folks, that give voice to people who don't have voice. All that creates flow within a community that allows for them to want to do more, right? And I think EBALDC is uniquely modeled in that way to allow someone like me to come in and really try and push levers where I normally wouldn't be able to, or our groups normally wouldn't be able to. So having art as an inspiration, as someone said, a way to dream about the future, is a way to connect a high school student with a senior. It's a way of connecting someone who's a recent refugee with someone who's been here for 20 years. And so, working with artists is always a great pleasure. It's a pain in the butt too, but but in the end, it's always rewarding, because you need to dream in these times, and you need to reimagine things in these times. And being creative gives everyone that toolkit, whether you're a resident or a professional artist or a community organizer. It's about pushing that energy out. So appreciate everyone here for doing that.
Well said. Thank you for that. Dream in these times. You need to dream in these times. You need to dream at all times, but especially these times. Thank you all for joining us this quick but necessary roundtable discussion. So much to unpack. There could be a whole essay about different manifestations of health as shown through art. But thank you again. And we're going to continue this program with an introduction of, we have some questions coming in actually. Wait for it. We have some questions from the audience. 1 second. Let's see what the hot topic is. Here we go. Tommy Wong, what are your current community projects? From Debbie Taylor.
Thank you, Debbie. We're doing good eats consistently across the districts. We just finished 2 engagements with Madison Park with art exhibits. We helped Swan's Market and Old Oakland shut down the streets and create parklets outside. We're working with Martin Luther King Library and Castlemont and EBALDC on doing planters and really reimagining outdoor public space in those areas. Thank you.
Love it. Stay active. And I mean, as an artist, like, how could you not? There's so many opportunities. See, we have another question. How do you work with residents whose main language is not English? And that's from Joyce. And anybody who wants to take that question, maybe Tommy, maybe that's a question for you, given your work in Chinatown, or anybody who works with a population who doesn't mainly speak English can take that question, actually.
You find a translator. I mean, essentially, I think, art is a beautiful thing in ways that it does kind of take out bridges of being able to communicate in different ways beyond just words. I mean, and I've, experienced that having traveled in different places and communities with different literacy level, different ages, different backgrounds, different languages. But there is a certain amount of communication that needs to be done with words and with language. And I think being able to really get to know the community that you're working with and being able to find folks there that can, cross both worlds and interpret the necessary information that needs to be interpreted in order for a successful and healthy partnership.
Cultural competency and someone who can speak to the people as well. Yeah, thank you for that. We have another question. This one's for Annie. What does it mean to be resident-centered?
Yeah. So I think there's a whole spectrum of ways that artists can be engaged on with community development and building development or anything. The artist could be alone in their studio over here, making a beautiful thing, making something and bringing it and kind of displaying it. But for us at EBALDC, we really value that process. And that's why it's been such a beautiful experience to work with everybody in this room, because they're the types of artists who are down with that model where the residents are the boss. The artists are in collaboration and they're working together. It's centered around the resident voice and vision, and kind of giving shape and life to that is just a different way of working. And it's not better or worse, but it's something that is really meaningful in the work we do.
The residents are the boss, like that. This seems to be the last question. It's from Isabel Salas. It says, have you encountered similar barriers in your city's infrastructure or policies? Similar is the question. Have you encountered barriers in your city's infrastructure or policies? And I'd actually like to ask that to Natty Rebel. I know that you've done work in a number of different areas around the Bay Area. And so you might have a sense of encountering different barriers in different cities. And so I'm just wondering.
Oh man, there's always barriers. There's always hurdles. There's always hoops. It's always red tape. It's you name it, it's there. So even on my journey across the nation, especially even here in the Bay Area, as a muralist, you know, when I first got started, I would just bomb and just tag buildings over on the East Coast. But then as it became a more of a profession, and even in the past 10 years, I feel like murals have been more accepted by communities. Um, so I feel that it's become more of a city mandated process to the production of large public art. So, I mean, you got to get permits, you got to get, sidewalk permits if you're blocking off the sidewalk. So I feel like there's always those stipulations which are for the best interest of the community. And then there's always, just bureaucracy when you're doing public art. It's one thing that the community wants to see, but then there's always the community stakeholders. There's the movers and shakers that also have their input. So a lot of times with designing public art, it can be a lot of different voices. And there can be, a lot of halt and hurry up and waits. But I feel that, overall, when it's a worthwhile production, it always manifests. And I feel like the conceptualizing, the working with communities, working with residencies to actually do the designing, getting it approved by the city, all of that usually takes a lot longer than the actual mural. The mural usually takes a week, a month, but the designing, the planning, the conceptualizing, the permitting, that can take up to a year sometimes, 6 months. And, so it's what I found is just enjoying the process, just making light of, just having to go through all those, you know, different hurdles and obstacles, but, just making light of it, being prepared and ready for it, and just, you know, the mural production, actually, the painting, it goes fast. So just also being ready for that when it does happen.
A multifaceted artist, like the art of navigating people and policy and red tape. I saw everybody's face light up when you were talking about it. So I guess everybody has a similar experience. I want to thank you. Thank you all for sharing your time with us, sharing your stories with us. Again, Cece Caprio, Annie Ledbury, Tommy Wong, Andre, Natty Rebel Jones. These are artists. Support the artists, and the artists will support you. My name is Pendaravis Harshaw. We're going to keep this thing going. Thank you all. Up next, we have another conversation with an individual who lives in the community where this art is being uplifted. Annie Ledbury is going to join us again. Lily is going to be our translator today for Chuan, who is a resident of a building in Oakland, where the East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation has done some work. And so we're looking to talk about how that has impacted an actual resident. How's everybody doing tonight? Great. All right. And we're about to get started. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a note from the production team saying that the resident's connection has dropped right now. But while we're waiting for that, let's not waste time. Annie, tell us a little bit about the work in the community and how you've seen it impact residents, or how you've seen residents appreciate it.
Yeah, and I can just share a little bit about the project at Frank G. Marr that we're going to be talking with Sin and Chuan about today. So this project, we worked with Lily and the folks at Frank G. Marr. It's about a project that's about to go under renovation. So it's a historic building from the 90s. It's a beautiful building that's about to get renovated. And in order to really welcome residents into what do they want to see in that building, in the courtyard, in the public spaces, in the units, we created this process, kind of this container for residents of, that speak all, many of them do not speak English. So they created like puzzle piece design kits so that way people could say, what did they want in their new courtyard? And the next piece of that too, we worked with students from California College of the Arts. There's a public art class, and those students came in and did a series of workshops with residents in multiple languages, and really wanted to understand what they cared about and what they wanted to express in this new courtyard area. And so that they created a series of these big metal panels that, and they spent time with residents. Like they were just all hanging out, like eating some food, and they were playing mahjong. Even the students that didn't speak Cantonese, they're just like, hanging out. And then this beautiful art came out of it. And so we're going to get to hear a little bit about it from their perspective.
See, in that instance, community brought about art. I like it. It's all intertwined. Thank you for that overview. Thank you. Now it looks like we have a solid connection. Again, Lily is here to help me with a little bit of translation for Chuan, who is a resident of the, sorry, make sure I get the apartments correct. It's called the Frank G. Marr Apartments that Annie had just talked about. Lily, if you could, please ask Mr. Chuan how the art has impacted his life.
咁咧，三川先生啊，你而家回答咧就係嗰個馬雲大廈嗰啲壁畫咧，對你係點樣影響你嘅生活啦？
大家好，你好。
Hi everyone。
喺呢度分享一下，喺呢度咧分享有關健康社區同埋倫理呢個問題。咁喺社區入邊咧，我哋每一個人咧都好似花草樹木，分享着陽光同埋水分。社區對於我哋嚟講咧，就係好比陽光同埋水分。所有健康安全嘅社區或同埋社區對我哋係好重要嘅。喺不久之前咧。奧克蘭嗰個唐人街一個91歲嘅老人推撞一下倒地呢個問題咧，好多人嘅關注同埋咁樣就俾社區呢件事件咧，就向我哋提出一個啦。我哋係為什麼我哋需要一個健康同埋安全社區呢個問題。
So I'm here to translate Shanchuan's idea about he's considered a healthy neighborhood in his neighborhood currently now. So he shared that basically each of us in the community share the sunlight and water like a flower and tree. So basically a community is like the sunlight or water to us. So a healthy and safe neighborhood is very important to us. I think a while ago, there's an incident of 91 years old in Auckland Chinatown puts violin to the ground. I think this incident just bring us attention and shock people, but also brought us to community why we need a healthy and safety community.
Agree.
唔應該係一個
Agreed. Thank you.
比較害怕出去買嘢同埋活動啊，咁樣或者去散步啊，感到唔安全咁嘅環境同埋社區，尤其喺我哋度過咗個而家咁樣比較艱難時期入邊，我哋更加需要團結，表現出一個同理嘅心，要加強責任感同埋精神，因為咧佢講呢種責任感同我哋每個人嘅行為嘅。如果我哋表現出有一種仇恨嘅心理，咁呢種情況咧傳出去就會影響咗好多人。但係如果大家表現出嚟，如果係一個同情心、有責任感， 佢就能夠傳出去咧，就會使到我哋嘅民眾咧更加團結。
And then he shared that I think this should not be a living in a community where elderly are afraid to going out grocery, but simply walking in the neighborhood. But especially at this time we need to be more united and show empathy and be more responsible. And it will be a change action if we show that hated will be passing to one another. But if we show compassion, it will not just be passed, but also multiple.
Thank you for that. Thank you. As a bit of a follow-up, specifically, how has his experience been with the art project from EBALDC?
咁咧，阿三春先生，你講講咧，就係嗰個下邊嗰個，即係我哋嗰個大廈嘅項目咧，好冇？
好。咁啊，我哋嘅大廈喺項目嘅設計，咁啊好多居民咧就參加咗嘅會議，進行討論大廈嘅改造嘅問題啦。咁我哋大廈嘅會議室嘅改造啊，呢個改造呢個例子咧，我覺得好成功，係一個好好嘅例子嚟嘅，合作大家共同合作一個好好嘅例子嚟嘅。
咁咧，so he shared that the project at Frenchy Mart, the second floor community renovation project, and also the Mural project that work with students is a very good example of how residents can work collaboratively with students and artists and school.
Collaboration brings about community, and community brings about healthy environments. And so I really appreciate what he just said and how it ties into the overall concept that we're here to discuss today. So please tell him I said thank you. Much appreciated, please.
擔川先生，我哋好感謝你今日嘅參加，同埋分享你嘅經驗。
OK， 多謝。
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you as well, Lily. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, everybody who was a panelist on this evening. We had a very, very fruitful discussion. Looking forward to more of this. Art brings community, community brings health. And with that, my name is Pendaravis Harshaw. Again, a journalist with KQED. You can find me there, and you can find me in the town. Up next, we're going to pass this conversation over to Sean Sullivan, the board chair for EBALDC. Go ahead and take it away, Sean.
Pendaravis, thank you for leading us through what has been a wonderful evening and presentations from so many people who make our community richer. I want to thank all of you for staying and till the end, and I promise to not keep you very much longer because I know we all have important things to do this evening and dinners to have, and I'm happy to be here with a wide variety of food that I've picked up, like momos from Annapurna and noodles from Cheng noodles, both which are in Chuan's marketplace, and I washed it down with our some boba from Sweetheart Cafe at EBALDC's first project, Asian Resource Center. I want to thank you all who have supported these organizations, these small businesses that operate in EBALDC. And as you've heard tonight, we continue to work to inspire healthy imaginations throughout our buildings, whether it be with our tenants or with the residents. And you've heard that what the different presenters have talked about their projects with our residents is really exciting, and we have a lot coming up with Madison Park and Frank Marr, which you just heard about. Creative community development is essential to the residential component of what EBALDC's Healthy Neighborhoods approach is all about. And so we want to continue to give those opportunities to our residents. And so I'd like all of you watching, I invite you to join me in making a contribution to EBALDC specifically today for our creative community development. We could use your help in helping grant mini grants to our tenants. We those of you who are able to make $1,000 grant will help us support Spark, Chinatown, and the Healthy Havens Court initiatives to empower artists that you saw in the Design Dash video earlier. If you're able to make a $500 contribution, that will go towards youth stipends to help plan out some of our art projects. You heard Tommy talk about planter boxes, and that is going to be done at our MacArthur Park Apartments. And with a $250 donation, you can make that impact there. If you're able to do $100, that will help us facilitate a resident design meeting, which will get the residents, as you just saw, involved in the process of co-creating with us. And lastly, paint costs bucks, but it's not always a lot of bucks. And so for $25, you can help us get these murals started in supporting our painting projects here that you've heard about. How to donate? Well, you can look in the chat below. You can text EBALDC, EBALDC for East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation to 41444. Or you can go right online from here and go to ebalc.org/donate. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. And I do hope that you're able to join us in making a contribution to put this art into practice all throughout our community. Thank you so much.